Welcome back to Performance TV. Hey, guys, if you've got a Ford truck, a Ford Power Stroke truck, and you notice that it's kind of getting a little hard to start or maybe not starting at all, it just might be something that Dimitri can help you out here with.
Absolutely, yeah. At Dorman Products, we identified the problem as a problem with the fuel injection control module. This module basically controls the fuel injection system on the 6-liter diesels. Primary failure mode on these is vibration and heat. They mount the fuel injection control module right on the valve cover of these engines, basically wedged between the exhaust manifold and the turbo. You have a ton of vibration, you have a ton of heat. This is a very complex electronic module. There are a lot of solder joints, there are a lot of heavy components that are kind of susceptible to failure due to that vibration and that heat. So what we did was we found out the problem's in the fuel injection control module, but it isn't the entire module. Alternative is to go to the dealership, buy an entire control module. You have to basically program it, reinitialize it for the vehicle. Instead, what we came out with is a fuel injection control module repair. Deals strictly with the inverter board, which is where the failure is.
That's pretty nice looking. I mean, instead of having to go and buy the whole unit, you're just going to replace the piece that actually goes bad.
Exactly, and with the replacement of only this part, you get the benefits of the additional securing compound that we use to help control the vibration and wick away the heat from the actual board, so it will result in a longer lifespan. And then on top of that, you don't have to reprogram the unit. You don't have to have those expensive tools. You don't have to have the subscription to Ford to be able to reinitialize it. You can do it in the driveway.
What I like is you can do it yourself. It's very
Absolutely.
simple. At least you guys have made it so easy. You don't have to take the car back to Ford, have them do it. You can do this in your driveway, your garage at home. In how long?
Most vehicles, you're going to be looking at about a 30-minute repair, maybe 45 minutes.
What about for Tommy? Would it take about that same amount of time, or?
Hour and 15 minutes.
Hey, is that what you're looking at?
The board, I'm going to put it in. I'll show you how long this goes.
All right, and also, tell me about these, Dimitri.
These are heat transfer pads. We provide new heat transfer pads for our board installation. The important part of this is that we're trying to remove the heat away from this board. These capacitors and these inductors get real hot, especially during the inductive heating cycle. This is when the engine's cold, the engine's just started up, and there's a lot of current being drawn from this board. This pad basically removes the heat from the board and puts it into that aluminum housing so it can be removed, resulting in a longer life.
So I bet folks are going to find when they take theirs out, the old one, and try to look at these things on the bottom.
They're going to be pulverized. They're going to be coming out like powder. So you just clean off the old one, you put the new one in, you're ready to go.
All right. Is there anything that we need to keep in mind as we're taking stuff apart here?
Make sure, obviously, the battery's disconnected. There's battery power going to this all the time, so you're going to want to follow those basically precautions of turning the battery off before you do any work on it.
The first step you want to do to get to the fuel injection control module is remove this radiator reservoir tank. It's pretty simple. You just pull out a couple screws right here. You want to drain it out because it'll have a little fluid in it, so you want to drain this. Then you just pull this thing and slide it right out. Once we get it out, you'll be able to see the fuel injection control module much easier. And there it is, right there, sitting on the valve cover as we talked, right next to the turbocharger, right above the exhaust manifold. So the heat and the vibration from the engine, that's what's going to kill this thing. So all we got to do now is remove 4 screws here, and we'll pull out the entire module with the circuit board inside. Now we got the bolts out. All we got to do is disconnect the wiring harness from the back side. All right, got the wiring harness removed. All we do is disconnect these. All right, last one disconnected. Now you can pull the entire module out, take it over the bench, and we're going to replace the board.
Get it out of there, Tom?
Here you go. Now it's your turn. Put me a new board in that, would you?
Absolutely. We can take care of that. So, Dimitri, the first thing we want to do now that we have the unit out is to go ahead and take these off first?
You're going to remove the inspection cover, and you're going to remove the 4 screws that secure the inverter board to the actual main board of the fuel injection control module.
All right. Get these out of here.
Now, while you take that out, I'll mention, you can see the aluminum fins on that cover. That's what's used to remove the heat from that board. So it'll be important inside when we take this module apart. You'll see those heat transfer pads we spoke about earlier are running the heat into that piece of aluminum right there, that half shell, to remove the heat away from the board so that it can last a long time.
All right, so now that we get this off, Ed, there's our 4 in there.
Yep.
And we can see the board. This part seems pretty easy once you get into this, once we had Tommy do the other part. Do we want to undo them all from here or just loosen them?
Nope, you're going to want to remove them completely so that the boards can actually split. When we take it apart, you'll see this is actually kind of a nested board design where there are 2 printed circuit boards on top of each other.
Gotcha. I'm going to make sure not to lose. There's actually little washers in there too.
Yep.
Generally, for a truck like this, Is there any certain amount of time that these things will last? Based on where they are, is there, I mean, is there
Absolutely. So the fuel injection control module goes through its biggest strain during cold startups. I mentioned a little earlier the inductive heating cycle.
Right.
That's when this board is working absolutely hardest. So if you're exposed to a lot of cold climate, if you're in the northern states, your fuel injection control module is going to be under a lot more strain than, let's say, if you were in Texas or Florida. We've seen them fail as soon as 3 months, 6 months, 30,000 miles, 15,000 miles, or sometimes 60,000 miles. It's definitely when the repair is going to need to be made, not if.
Wow.
They're all going to fail.
And you think about 6 months? I mean, that's a pretty short period of time.
Yep. Well, a lot of these vehicles used as fleets, you know, a lot of landscaper companies, contractor companies, these trucks get ridden very hard, and a lot of times they get sitting idling for a very long time. They have that heat, that vibration just sits there, and heat and vibration are one of the biggest enemies for electronic modules.
All right, we're going to go ahead, finish taking this last screw out, and when we come back, we're going to get the cover off, and we're going to get this board swapped out. That's coming up next.
When you want superior diesel performance, depend on StainlessDiesel.com. At Stainless Diesel, we sell cutting-edge products that make power and will stand the test of time. We're the manufacturer of the stainless exhaust manifolds for the Dodge Cummins. With a 0% failure rate, our stainless manifolds are made right here in the USA. Stainless Diesel offers custom single and twin turbo piping kits, billet turbo upgrade compressor wheels, and personalized complete turbochargers. From towing to all-out diesel performance, StainlessDiesel.com. We speak turbo.
What do the following award-winning car designers and builders have in common? Chip Foose, Brian Fuller, Alan Johnson, Justin Padfield, Mark Stilo, Steve Strope, Denny Terzich, Troy Trepanier. They all depend on ARP fasteners. Leading car builders depend on ARP fasteners, and so should you. ARP, the world leader in fastener technology.
When only the best will do, insist on Pro-Pan oil pans and top cover valve covers. Each fabricated oil pan and valve cover is tailored to the customer's engine applications. Every detail is considered in planning, construction, and performance of these handcrafted parts. At Douglas Ingenuity, we are dedicated to providing the best performance products available on the market. We don't cut corners to save a little time or use subpar materials to stretch our profit margin. Every pan and valve cover is technically master crafted and custom built. You know you're getting the best when you purchase Pro-Pan and top cover.
Performance TV presented by Low Carb Performance Products is being brought to you by Guard Air. We take worker safety seriously. And by the Little Power Shop. We will not be undersold. And by Nitro Plate. The power is in the process. Step up to the plate. Nitro Plate.
Welcome back to Performance TV. During the break, we had a chance to go ahead and pop this cover off, and Dimitri, take these off as well, which gave us a chance to get in here to take off all this potting material that's covering up all of our screws. The nice thing is with the Dorman product, you guys left the spaces available.
Yeah, we leave the screw mounting holes exposed without any potting material on it for ease of installation.
Yeah, because I tell you what, that part wasn't that. I mean, it was easy, but it's like you're definitely going to tear things up. We'll go ahead and get in here. Now, once we pop this board out of here, we're going to be able to see the material back here and explain this to us again.
Yep, basically these are the heat transfer pads. Again, most important thing for electronic modules is removing heat from the components. So these pads basically go under the board, between the board and the aluminum housing, and remove the heat from the components, the capacitors, the inductors, and the MOSFET transistors. Pulls all that heat away from the actual board into the aluminum so that the board doesn't overheat.
Dimitri, tell me, what's going on over here on this side?
Well, what this is the second half of the fuel injection control module clamshell. This is the actual intelligent part of the board. This is what controls the fuel injection timing, the fuel injectors, and the rest of the fuel system of this diesel truck. We don't need to replace this part. This is the part that needs to be programmed if they're replaced with the new one. Our board strictly deals with the 12 volts to 48 volts, which is required for the glow plug system and the fuel injection system.
Should pop out of here pretty easy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. The only adhesion that's going to be is a little bit of the potting material and then those heat transfer pads.
All right, out she comes. A couple of screws laying there on top. I'll get those out of the way.
And there are those heat transfer pads that we're basically just going to end up removing so that we can replace them with ones that are provided with the Dorman fuel injection.
And a fresh set, which actually look like they have a little more protection there as well.
A little thicker.
And as you see, have the little notches there so they are self-centering.
Yep, they only go in one way.
And we stick this back in.
And there you are, all the screws line right up. And again, that potting material is not interfering with the pathway of those screws, so it'll be together in a jiff.
Well, we're going to get this wrapped up and give it back to Tommy so he can get it in the truck. And Dorman has another interesting project that we're going to show you in just a moment. But first, it's the ARP quarter-mile quiz.
This week's quarter-mile quiz question comes from Tom in South Carolina. He wants to know what's with the tape over the class number. To get the answer, we went to Pro Stock driver Alan Johnson.
Normally when somebody does that, that's when they're in memorandum of somebody that's maybe died or got killed recently, and they're just doing that out of honor to them.
Like a fellow racer or crew chief?
Yeah, or a friend, just anybody.
If you have a question for the ARP quarter-mile quiz, send it to the address on your screen. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive a free ARP shirt.